This is Carrigan and Company. Did you know that more than 90% of cyber attacks can be prevented? Focus Technology helps organizations create a cybersecurity framework to minimize your risk of being attacked. Let Focus Technology's certified team conduct an assessment to determine where the gaps are in your organization, no matter how big or small your company is. Utilizing the industry's best tools, Focus Technology's security operations team will monitor and stop bad actors before it's too late. Contact Focus Technology today at focustsi.com and secure your company's most valuable assets. That's focustsi.com. A&B Burger in Beverly and A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston are redefining guest expectations of a casual restaurant. Both A&B restaurant locations are focused on hospitality, creative menus, and delicious food and drinks. Now, I've been to both restaurants many times and loved everything I've tried. Get to A&B Burger on Cabot Street in Beverly or head across the street from our studio at the TD Garden to A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston today and experience the A&B difference yourself. I promise you're going to love it. Hey everybody, it's Kim Carrigan. Coming up next, a very special episode of Carrigan and Company. It's the Big Night edition. And sitting alongside me, keeping me company, is one of the hospitality group's biggest digital stars, Kevin Cooney, the host of the No Limits with Kevin Cooney podcast. This is Carrigan and Company.
Carrigan and Company is here for you. Yes, Carrigan and Company is here for you.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Carrigan and Company, presented by A&B Burger. We love our friends over there at A&B Burger. We've got a really special episode for you this week. It's all about the Big Night family. And I'm about to introduce you to the Big Night family's star digital man.
I like that.
Say that.
Star Digital Man.
That's something new for you.
Hurley Q, Rocket Man.
Kevin Cooney is here with us. He's the host of No Limits with Kevin Cooney, the podcast right here at Big Night. Hi.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thank
in
you
all
so much for having me.
seriousness. I mean, this is not an unusual place for you because you do a podcast here as well.
I, no joke, live almost inappropriately close to here, right across the street. And so it's like an extended living room, if you will.
It's so good.
Yes.
Though. Listen, after the commute that I had getting here today, you're the luckiest man alive. I want you to know that.
Oh, I've done that commute. That is no fun.
Yeah. So do you do only one podcast here, or do you do more than one?
The Big Night has a whole slew of podcasts that are hosted here.
Right.
We host the No Limits show right here. Every Wednesday we drop a new episode. Yeah. Every Thursday nights-ish we'll film. And we're a better of a spot, right outside the TD Garden.
I know.
You know, when there's shows or concerts here, or B's or C's are playing for a home game, it's chaos out here on this little strip. So it's a perfect spot.
Well, I figured out that Kevin obviously got the prime time spot here in the studio. And then he convinced our producer, Pete, to allow him to sit on the other side of the desk. I don't know what he's paying, but I like it.
It's merely a green screen. It's not real. That's an illusion.
You stumbled into this whole digital world.
Yes.
And I think we have something else in common, which I'm going to share with you here in a second. But I know you came out of Plymouth State.
Yep.
Went to work for, I believe, Toast.
Yes, exactly right.
Okay, so you take the story from there.
Yeah, out of college, I bounced on a couple different jobs. I was selling power tools on construction sites for a while right out of school. Was the GM, way too young to be a GM of called the Workout World up there in Methuen. So I was doing like hiring, firing, orders, and then made my way over to sales. And I love, similar to you, like there's something about just being able to communicate to others all day long in an effective way. And if you do that with a product, like let's say Toast, it goes hand in hand. You know, it's not that, my old manager's gonna see this and be like, oh, quota was easily attainable, was it? But it was, if you have the gift of gab a little bit.
Yeah.
So worked at Toast, was in fairly early with them. Rode the IPO wave with them.
Yep.
And then I always loved media. Like in high school, I was like your good evening, Wyndham High School. This is your evening news. I would do your advisory news and do the weather back in high school. So I always loved media. And, you kind of lose it as you're trying to find yourself in college and, early adult life. And And then once COVID hit, it was the perfect break
Right.
to get back into social.
Absolutely. When you worked for Toast, just curious, did you work over on Summer Street?
I was at the time they were at right in Fenway there at what's that big Park Plaza? No, the 410. The big there's all those food halls there.
I see you loved it.
Right? Yeah. Really. They just moved. They're now at on Seaport Boulevard.
Yeah,
is where the new office is.
I worked in a building when I worked for Bloomberg that was Toast was there.
Oh, really? Yep.
And they were the coolest people to talk to.
Yes.
And every time the elevator would open, the music would be blasting, and it was just so hip. And I always thought, wow, if I could just get off the elevator a little sooner. I went up to Bloomberg, which was so stuffy, and nothing like that at all. That is for sure.
It's a fun company.
Yeah,
I stayed. I publicly have always said I almost stayed way too long. Social, I had a full team behind me on social media and an agent with me on social media with our own internal KPIs and monthly quotas.
Yeah.
And then I had a manager at Toast, and I told my manager on social, I was like, I would leave, but I love it. Like, it's just so much fun.
Right,
you know?
I can't do it.
So, shout out to
Kevin,
them.
people don't really understand, not everybody anyway, how it is that you become this kind of social media influencer.
Totally.
And share with everybody. You have a lot of followers. A lot of people follow Kevin Cooney.
Yes. I call it, the blueprint is really simple. Year one, I call it the campaign.
Okay.
And we're election year, picture when you go on your campaign and, they wrap the tour buses with your face on there. You're on every billboard. You're running TV, print, media, paid social media. You get the text messages. That's year one of the campaign. So in the digital space, that just means our volume of content needs to be in almost ungodly high. So for me, year one,
numerous times a day you're posting.
it was 10 videos a day, every day for the first year. And including weekends, like you almost double down Saturday, Sunday. And then that gives you such a good baseline of, okay, what hit, what didn't hit, and why for both. And then we can double and triple down on what did work. Mm-hmm. And that's how you find your voice. When you get, you know this probably better than anyone. When you go into, let's say, Fox, you have your own voice, but I'm sure it's probably, you have like a board of directors that you had to present to, and I'm sure a boss, it's like, you're a little too loose there. Why don't you tighten? You know what I mean? Whereas social, it's like there's no one telling you, hey, here's what you're going to do next, and here's the next story. It's totally on your own, accord. So that volume of content gives you just so much data of, okay, what is the consumer like? What do they not like? And let's double and triple down on what they are enjoying, online.
Well, you got through the campaign very successful to the other side.
Yes.
And now how many years has this been that you've...
So this was late COVID. This was like 2021-ish.
Yes.
I downloaded TikTok at the time, which was just like a teen, was known for like teen dancing app, all my friends are roasting me, and then now it's like the currency of how we do business, from the Ryan Serhants of the world that sell most of their real estate on TikTok, or the Gary V's of the world that do most of their marketing on social media. I always jokingly am like, if this was back to, we're talking off air about, the roaring 20s. If this was 1920s, I would have done the same thing. It just would have been, I'd put letters in your mailbox. I would have had the billboards,
Sure. Absolutely.
It'd be the same, the same means of communicating. It's just that digital is the now of communicating.
Absolutely. 100% it is. Now, I got to ask you, and this is the news side of me, but, you're talking about TikTok and you're making a lot, you're making a living on TikTok.
Yes, 100%.
So obviously, it's in danger.
It is. It is.
So how do you feel about that?
I'm split. Half of me's excited. I'm not afraid to start over, and there's two things there. I'm kind of when I say this next sentence, it's kind of coming out of both sides of my mouth, and I'll cover both. I love starting over on new platforms, whether it's creating a new show that starts with 0 followers, because you kind of have that blueprint of how we're going to build it up. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of the mouth, it's really important to be heavily diversified. Of the 7 platforms that are out there, my probably error early on, year one, was those 10 videos really only went on TikTok. It wasn't until like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-ish months in, I was like, ooh, I should be posting these to YouTube Shorts, Snapchat, LinkedIn, which sounds crazy, Instagram Reels, we We do like a Snapchat spotlight. It goes on now. That way, if the tides turn and TikTok gets banned, you still have like we do. Probably oddly enough, I have a much smaller following on Instagram, but for whatever reason, when our deals come in, we'll do a lot more deal flow on Instagram, just because you're able to quickly attach links and hyperlink to stories and things like that.
Sure.
So we're probably, it's probably a 60-40 split. 60 being, when the Bounties of the world or Celsiuses of the world come to you, they want a video on, Instagram or TikTok, maybe both. But yeah, it is definitely it's an interesting concern.
Well, it feels like to me, you've been smart about it. And I think anybody who is depending on it to make a living should be smart about, as you just said, diversify, make sure that you're out there. So people who are listening again, remember, you work in a world that's very, very small. Not everybody understands how this works.
Totally.
You have an agent?
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Shout out Georgina.
Yeah.
Great girl.
I mean, and there are agencies out there. I had an agent forever for television.
Yes. Yep.
You have an agent for digital media.
Exactly right.
Yep. and so are they pushing you all the time? Are they finding you sponsorship? How does that work?
That was, after the campaign, year 2 was really heavy on, okay, how can I now scale? Let's prevent burnout.
Yeah.
And at the time it was, when you get those agreements, it's 1,000 pages. I don't know what I'm reading in those.
Absolutely.
So I was like, ooh, okay, let's be a little more strategic here. So that's when in comes Georgina, my agent, part of an agency called Dulcetto. And she's the bridge to connect the influencer to the brand. And then even more important is you have her there as kind of your legal arm, And then I have Milan, she's my project coordinator. So as deals come in, she's the one keeping you on track of, hey, we got to reshoot this. Don't forget this is due today. Hey, I'm going to come over. We'll get done X, Y, and Z. And then from a media perspective, we have Mel, shout out Mel. He does all of our short form content for the podcast. Yeah. So, and the hack there that I tell everyone is he is overseas. He's based in the Philippines. They're 12 hours ahead. So when we go to bed tonight, any content we film throughout the day, I'll send him a Dropbox file. So at 9 p.m. when I'm getting ready for bed, he's
taking
in the
care
office,
of it.
sipping coffee. It's 9 a.m. there.
Yeah.
He's editing all day. And then when he goes to bed, I get that same Dropbox file of all our finished files.
Great.
And then we just rinse and repeat, day over day.
So where does all this go?
It's interesting. I am a big fan of entrepreneurship. Back to starting over. So, I formed the Kevin Cooney LLC. This is where all these funds, funnel to. For me, the 2.0 version of this is getting into real estate. I was saying to David, we're a month out from closing on an 11-unit rental property, which would be my first real portfolio score.
This is like adult life.
It is. Well, I love it. Like social media puts you in really weird rooms early.
Yeah.
Rooms you
I'm sure.
wouldn't normally have access
I'm sure it
to.
does.
So you start to get an ear for, okay, what is some of my favorite people of the world, like the Gary V's of the world. When you're in the same room, you start to hear them off camera and you're like, oh, what did he say? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Oh, and then you get these golden nuggets, which before, probably would have taken me till 40s or 50s to figure out. So for me, that's a 2.0 version, only because I love real estate. And back to diversifying. You diversify digitally, but it's also more important to diversify your revenue streams. God forbid anything happens to all social.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, we're looking at, some dating shows we're testing out, in the media space and, some Boston's Got Talent type of formatted shows, awesome. Inside Big Night that we're playing with.
Yeah.
Just always keep an eye out to, what the consumer likes best.
Sure. Big Night, they've treated you well?
Big Nights, they have, I call it like the pulse of Boston.
Please.
Sometimes you'll go out to eat and you're like, oh, Empire, this is great sushi. Big Night owns it. Or maybe you're fist pumping at the Grand. You're like, this is a great club.
Yeah.
Big Night owns it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's...
You go to Encore and you can just go from Big Night location to Big Night location.
They have their thumb stamped on Boston, and I think it's for the better. I love them.
I know. Well, me too. I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled that, I'm on this platform, and I'm glad you are too.
Yes. Welcome to the Big Night fam.
Thank you, my friend. It's nice to be a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah. I got to get good seats places, though, now. We have... I think, right?
Hurley, hook the lady up. Come on. Jeez, back there. Unbelievable.
These restaurants that I can't get into now, this is how I got to get in, right?
You're in. You're already in.
All right, listen, we do something here on Carrigan and Company each week, and it's called our Focus Technology Fast Five. Are you aware of this?
Wow.
Yeah, so we ask you
Focus
5 questions.
Technology Fast Five.
Yes. Say that 5 times.
I'm drooling over here thinking about it.
So we ask you 5 questions. You have to answer them within 30 seconds. All 5.
Oh, I love it.
All right.
Here we go.
Focus Technology Fast 5. Focus Technology is your trusted IT partner for cybersecurity, cloud, and managed services.
A real
Kevin
professional
Cooney.
with the ad reads, might I add.
You're ready.
She slips them in there so effortlessly. That is what a talent. What a skill.
Favorite movie, or maybe your favorite movie quote?
Black Hawk Down.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favorite accent?
The Boston accent.
Let me give you a little bit.
Clam chowder. TD Garden. I want to name my kid Kata, but I can't because it sounds like Kata.
What's the best part of living in Boston?
Ooh, the people.
The people.
You know, rough and tough crowd, but if you're in the area, you're in the, you're kind of in the know. It's a very, I call it like the East Coast, entrepreneur startup land, if you will.
That's only because you don't drive, you walk everywhere.
Yeah.
Cold plunge or sauna?
Ooh, both. Contrast therapy. Shout out Sweat House.
That's just a little plug. That's your way of getting the commercials in. And best gift your wife, Ashley, who you have not had all that long, has ever given you.
Probably this little number on the ring there. Hello. So we're married.
Very good. How long you guys been married?
We got married December 16th.
Awesome. She is sometimes the co-host of the podcast.
Yes, she is. Oh,
Yeah,
yes. Little Miss
yeah.
Boston.
Yeah.
A fiery East Boston Italian stallion.
I know it.
Call
And
her.
I do love it. She's got the greatest Boston accent.
It's for me, it was culture shock because I went over to her parents' house in East Boston and they all speak like that. And I'm from, Southern New Hampshire, suburban upbringings. And boy, was that a real culture shock there.
I love it. Well, we're going to talk more about your lovely bride and some of your plans coming up a little later in the show. But as we mentioned today, as we got started, this is the big night show.
Yes.
So we're a big night family, and that means there must be parents. And so one of our parents is going to join us here on
here we
Carrigan and
go.
Company in
Yes.
just a few minutes. This is Carrigan and Company. Heading to the TD Garden for a Celtics or Bruins game? Make sure you leave enough time before the game to go to A&B Kitchen and Bar across the street from the Garden. Get the evening started early with drinks, apps, or dinner. Hey, and here's a pro tip for you. Because A&B Kitchen and Bar is so close to the Garden, I suggest you go online to anbkitchen.com/reservations and make a reservation. That's the letters anbkitchen.com/reservations. Can't make it to A&B before the game? Not to worry. The kitchen is always open at least an hour after the TD Garden event lets out. Do you know what generative AI is and how your company can ensure employees are more productive? Focus Technology can help you master the use of Microsoft's newest tool, Copilot. This powerful tool can help your team speed up many of their daily tasks by enabling hands-on learning directly with the software. It can summarize long emails, generate drafts of long documents, and search for answers to key questions. Copilot represents a unique opportunity for businesses to accelerate their understanding of what generative AI can deliver for their company. Contact Focus Technology today to learn more at focustsi.com and bring your organization into the AI revolution. That's focustsi.com. Attention all you fashionistas, I've got a secret that I'm about to share. It's a fabulous clothing boutique located in Marblehead, Massachusetts, called All Chic at 152. Now, I'm a regular there, and quite frankly, I'm constantly asked, where do I get my clothes? If you're ready to elevate your style game, this is the place for you. The staff selects on-trend, unique styles from Europe, Canada, and right here in the United States. The beautiful store is filled with hand-picked clothing, as well as shoes and accessories. Anyone who tells you have to break the bank to look great obviously hasn't shopped at All Chic at 152. That's All Chic at 152, located at 152 Washington Street in Marblehead, Massachusetts.
If you like rum, you're going to love Rumson's Rum, New England's most award-winning rum brand. Rumson creates distinctive and savory flavor profiles by hand-selecting and marrying the finest barrel-aged Caribbean rums. The spirits are then blended and finished in the New England Rum House. Choose from Rumson's Gold, Spice, Grand Reserve, or Coffee Rum. which is smooth and sweet with a warm roasted coffee flavor, a hint of vanilla, and a decadent buttery finish. Find Rumson's at liquor stores or ask for it at your favorite restaurant. Learn more at rumsons.com. That's rumsons.com. Rumsons. Life lived, life enjoyed.
This segment of Carrigan and Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Carrigan and Company, presented by A&B Burger. Love our friends over at A&B Burger. Kevin, I say that each and every time.
You do.
I have to because I do adore them.
Scrumptious
They
and
are
delicious.
Scrumptious and delicious.
And old friends.
And oh my goodness. Well, wait, let me introduce our newest
Friendship.
friend. Kevin Cooney is here, and he's keeping me company. And keeping us company is Ed Kane, of course, the man behind Big Night. We said this is a show about the Big Night family, and you're the parent.
Yeah, I'm the dad. Yeah, both times. Sometimes I'm the kid, too.
How do you know our friends over at A&B?
Thomas Holland and I have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
I met Thomas, I want to say 25 years ago, just over 25 years ago. He was the general manager at Sansi. And he and I became friends, and then he went to work for Michael Schlau, and he opened at the casino the same time we did.
Yeah.
In fact, and then, I've followed his graduate arm. He was in the car show the other day. He came in to say hi.
Well,
One of the
that's
great
because he
guys.
was here shooting with us.
Oh, he was?
the other day.
Okay, great.
He was keeping me company last week, and it was a ton of fun. He's just a terrific
He's
person.
a really great guy. Did you talk about the Grateful Dead, of course?
Oh, yes, we
Yeah, of
did.
course.
And
You
15
had
years
to.
of following him around the country, which is an interesting story, certainly. But great to have you.
Thanks for having
Hey,
me.
and thank you for having us.
Thanks.
This podcast studio is so fantastic. And I mean, people have been talking about it more and more and more, and how impressed they are that you have this here.
Thanks.
Yeah, really great.
Best in the
idea.
biz. Truly best in the biz.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's a really nice design, too.
I
so-
remember the conference room studio back at HQ.
Oh, you do? Yeah,
Where
yeah,
we
yeah.
used to do the old podcast.
We had the fake trees. And
I remember hearing the murmurs of this place, and I live right across the street. And I was like, "Wow, if that opens, that would be oddly convenient." And then sure enough, you
I
guys-
forget the exact genesis of it because we were going to put a card store here, and then we needed a podcast studio, and then it kind of flipped around. It took a while to get here and get it built, but I'm a firm believer that sometimes things are delayed for a reason.
Yeah.
And we end up figuring it out better. And then just a shout out to our VP of construction, Joe Mastromateo, who built the whole place.
Oh,
and
wow.
he built all these walls, and we were talking about how we really wanted it to feel a little more luxurious, but still have great sound quality. So all these battens are in here. There's all acoustic battens in there, and it's very good
important.
acoustic.
Yeah.
Ed, you'll be happy to know this. My very first guest on the show was Lenny Clark.
Oh.
And he immediately pointed out to me, you can wear anything against this background.
It look good.
Of all the people who would have noticed that.
Well, Lenny's an old
Clark
friend
was-
too. I've known him forever. It's a small city.
Let's talk a little bit about Big Night, which
Sure.
this is a small city, and you are absolutely taking it over. And Kevin and I were talking about it before the break. I'm excited about it. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
But it really all started down in Hingham, Massachusetts, and I love that story. So tell a little bit about how
Well,
you
it
got
really
that going
started
down
in
there.
Quincy. My dad bought a bar, and he bought a bar when I was in high school, and I did all the bad jobs. I almost said crappy jobs. Let's go crappy jobs. I cleaned, I cooked. I was a short order cook there, and then when I went to college, I went back and bartended. But I was a horrible bartender. I had attention deficit syndrome, whatever, and I was
Pour
just
waters
bad at it.
for the table, right?
In fact, I was so bored sometimes bartending that I would have Trivial Pursuit was big, and in that moment, I would say, if you can answer this question, I will make your drink. And if you got it wrong, I would work my way around the bar and come back to you, and I would ask you another question. And I got fired. And I thought,
It's tough when
right
you're
after
fired by your parents.
yeah, exactly. Right after I graduated, I started a little computer company. I sold it. My brother said, hey, there's a place for sale in Hingham, Mass., which was then Page's, had been there for 40 years. Went down and looked at it. It was a little bit of a stretch to kind of buy it, but in the lease, it had this little hidden gem, which was you could buy the real estate at a really short money. So I executed the purchase of the business, and then ran it for a year and bought the real estate. And that was kind of the play. And then the first year we really winged it. I painted the walls blue and mauve and crazy stuff. But it was hugely successful. And I changed the name from Pages to Stars, which the town didn't love, but it went through the roof. And revenues doubled that year. It was crazy. And then a couple of years later, I bought the building right across the street, which became Tosca, and I gutted that out and converted to Tosca, and I bought another spot across the street there, and that became Fire King Baking Company, which is now in 210,000 square foot facility in Braintree. And from there, I added all kinds of things. I had a great client who came in to Tosca, and they had just bought the Marina Bay, which was then the largest marina in New England. It was like 800 slips. It had an outside nightclub, and he was having some difficulty with the nightclub operator. And he said to me, I said to him, I can run that nightclub. By the way, I had never been in the nightlife business, never mind a 3,000 person nightclub. And he said, really, you could do it? I said, yeah, of course. So I took it over. It nearly killed me. It nearly bankrupted me. I brought my older brother back, who had kind of been in the nightlife business. He ran it. Thank God. And so we ran it for 15 years. It was extraordinary. And that's how I met so many people came through the door. Like all the celebrities and sports celebrities. Patriots lived there. I did all the events there. And then, in fact, I'm getting to the real part of the story. And that's how I met Randy, my partner Randy Greenstein. Because Randy was my DJ. Okay. And he would come in. He was working at Kiss 108. He was an on-air personality. And then he segued over to sales. And I would torture him, by the way, on Sunday nights because I was a little more reckless in those days. My brother was more responsible, and those things have changed. And I would throw a party every Sunday night for like 100 people because the place was so big. And we had a hard stop at 1 o'clock. And when you're trying to exit 3,000 people, it's a disaster. Except I always wanted to go later. And I would lock the door up there because my brother would come yell at me, even though I was the owner. He would try to I would barricade the door. And then all the managers would try to get in, and I would tell Randy, damn it, I own this place. You're playing the music later. And he would be like, but he would take the brunt of the pain later on because they would say, why did you play the music so late? In any case, I became great friends with Randy too through my brother. We started a promotion company called Big Night Entertainment. We came over one night. We started this plan about creating something that was really kind of groundbreaking. We didn't really have on the board, to be honest with you, brick and mortar. I had just naturally been in the brick and mortar business. I had the estate, which was in my first place in Boston, which was right in the alley. And then Michael Schlau, who Thomas Holland, it all coming full circle because it's a teeny tiny town. Right. Michael Schlau called me up and said, hey, I'm doing a place at Foxwoods with MGM. They were building a new tower there. Do you want to build a nightclub there? And I said, I've only been to Foxwoods one time to see Pavarotti. I have no idea what it is. And I said to Randy, have you ever been to Foxwoods? And it was like his weekend family vacation, which is so odd, right? He had been there like 100 times with his family. You're going to ruin this for me. And I was like, well, he's like, we have to do it. So we all drove down there, Joe, Randy, and I. We met with the president, and that's how we started. We convinced him. That was the end of August of 2007. And we negotiated the lease that next month, September. We signed the lease in October, and we needed to be open by May, which you could never do right now because you couldn't permit, build, hire. Right. And it was the craziest adventure I've ever been on because we built 24,000 square feet, 2 stories, open floor. Like we built it from scratch in that time frame, and we opened when the casino opened in May. And then we just started adding places, created a really great partnership, and kind of where we are today.
And give people an idea of some of the places you added. Just if you'll, I'm going to give you an opportunity to just name.
Sure. So right away we added Red Lantern in Boston, which in my opinion, and we sweated over that location. I looked at 40 locations all over the city, and then I walked in there and I said, "Oh, this is the space." Yeah. And because it was an extraordinary space. It had been original Bertucci's, had great high ceilings, was built in 1900. It was an amazing old carriage house. And then I said to Randy, we really got to dominate kind of that Asian kind of nightlife market. It doesn't really exist here in Boston. And we did Red Lantern. And the next space we looked at was Empire. We looked at one space for Empire, 40 over here. And then we did Empire right on the heels of it. And we ended up combining those two raises. We raised money through private equity, so kind of friends, family, investor, and wealthy individuals. And so we combined those together because there was a little bit of, oh, you're doing this one and this one. Which one am I investing in? So we put them together in a portfolio, and then we created that. And then from there, we did the Grand. I was telling a story the other day that I had this vision, because we spent like $6 million building an empire. It was a huge amount of money. And I always thought, oh, we can build a nightclub for like $5 or $6 million. And so I said to Randy and Joe, let's build a nightclub. I'll try to convince Jeremy Sklar, who has been a wonderful ally to us and very helpful in the Seaport. And, he developed, so I talked to Joe Fallon this morning too, coincidentally. And so Joe gave us our first run at things at Van Pier, and then Jeremy was developing all the retail along there. And so I called Jeremy, and he was a little hesitant about putting a nightclub in the Seaport. Mayor Menino was still mayor. I loved him, but he wasn't a big nightlife guy. He wasn't a big nightlife guy. And so I convinced Jeremy to do it. And I said to Randy, Joe, we'll spend like $5 or $6 million. And we ended up spending $14 million on this place. And that's kind of
like
representative.
A big dig.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I thought.
Was it the courthouse right there that's giving you problems?
Yeah, this is our Waterloo, right? Like, this is going to crush us. And we did an extraordinary. We doubled on our pro forma, doubled what we thought we were going to do, which was amazing. And I was always, and Randy and Joe, to their credit, have bought into this, let's build something that we're really proud of. This is going to be around for a lot of years. You've been to Tosca and Hingham. It's been there now 30 years.
Yep.
It's an extraordinary design. I spent so much money in 1992, 93 building it, but it's still around.
It's still there.
I feel like if you can create something that is generally transportive, not in kind of a Disney way, but in a kind of a, oh, I've never seen this before, and you bring kind of that life to a city, then people will come and they'll support.
Totally.
You've answered the next question I was going to ask you, because restaurants come and go and nightclubs come and go frequently, by the way. And you've got restaurants in Hingham, Massachusetts that have been around 30 and 33 years. That is amazing to me.
Yep.
So the secret sauce is put it up front and make it something people really want to do.
I think the secret sauce is out of the gate. I think you have to create something that's completely unique for people. Yeah. And then you got to support that. The day-to-day grind of the business is very, very difficult, right? Because you got to provide great hospitality, great service, great food, great ambience, a safe environment, which has become, we were always kind of focused on safety before a lot of other people were. And I felt like that has really paid big dividends for us. Because it's Wild West out there.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes, right? So
You
you
bet.
really have to have people feel, particularly women, they're going to come through the door, they're going to be safe, they're going to be in a nurturing environment. And we always subscribe to that since we started, since a lot of our audience was female, so it was important. And then you got to provide the talent and the marketing. And Randy is a genius of those two things, like getting people through the door. Like, we won Best Nightclub in the country in 2018 for the Grand. Wow. No one had ever, there were only really 3 cities that competed in it, right? New York, Miami, Las Vegas. Every once in a while, some from LA. There had been one in San Francisco, but never in Boston, and we won. And I was thinking, this is just an amazing thing. And it was based on, it was a pretty great looking nightclub, and we really did a lot with technology at the time. But it was really a testament to Randy and his group booking the best talent in the world to come through the door, creating that Las Vegas experience. And so I remember we went to Las Vegas to celebrate it, and we celebrated at Omnia. And I said to Randy, this is the best nightclub in the world. Not the Grand. That's the reality of it. And I feel like that's what keeps us driven, right? You go somewhere else, you design a place, you think it's the Mona Lisa, and then the next day you go see Picasso, and you're like, oh, I kind of like this better.
Right.
And that's always been the thing, like being not satisfied in work and not in life, but in this particular moment of like creating something, I think is important, and that's what's driven us. Well, we want to be better. We want to be on the next level, level.
It's great because you haven't let your ego get in the way to say, I already have the best. You've recognized that you can keep getting better and better.
Where do you get your stamina? When I'm 28, I'll go to a Celtics game. I'm ready for bed. After that, I'll look on Big Night's page. He's with Steve Aoki behind the DJ booth.
Randy says the same
I'm like,
thing.
where does this go? This guy doesn't stop. What's in the coffee?
I don't know what it is. And
It's
listen,
amazing.
when you really ask me, I think I'm so lazy and so underperforming. But and I don't know. I just get a second win. Sometimes if there's not a Celtics game or the Celtics game go out, that's a longer night.
Yeah.
If there's not a Celtics game, often I'll go to sleep for a couple hours and wake up at 9 or 10 and then go out and do it.
Right.
And I think it's important, and Randy also thinks it's important to create relationships with, not just your employees, right? So you go around and see all your employees and to be on site, but also with the artists that come through the door,
Right.
and with their staff. Maybe it's not always the artist. Sometimes it's their booking manager or who's ever their touring manager who's there. Those things are important because then people want to come back because they like the relationship. And then my other secret is generally it's an Irish goodbye at 1 o'clock. I go home at 1. I leave at 1. I'm in bed by 1:30.
Goodbye.
I don't stay out much later than that, So sometimes it's just I get there at 11:30 and I'm leaving by 1.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
That's with everything turns back to the pumpkin, right?
Yeah,
That's how it is for me.
Yeah.
I know. That's exactly.
and my recovery time as I've gotten older is terrible.
Yeah.
And if I'm not a big drinker, but every once in a while you're out and you'll have like 3 or 4 drinks, which is a lot for me. I cannot function the next day.
Right.
Sometimes the
Right.
day after. So
That's the beauty of being 28.
yeah, you can do both those things and get up the next day and go to the gym in the morning.
Yeah,
Not me.
Ed Kane, it has been so fun to have you here. It's just an impressive story. We love that you're taking over Boston.
Thanks. A lot more to come too. We got some
Good.
great projects.
Good, great. Well, I'll be sitting right here, so you
Can we talk about Nia just for 1 second?
Sure.
Do you have time?
Oh yeah, we can talk about it because
Okay.
I'm gonna then afterward. Can you get me in?
Yeah, of course. It's so funny how that restaurant has become
You can't
incredibly.
get in.
Yeah. And so Nia and I met during the pandemic. We were on a bunch of committees together, and then I said to her, "Hey, how can we help? And let's get your message out there." So I called Scott, who's our partner in Big Night Creative, and he went out there to film her with Kyle, and they filmed her. And he called me up and said, "She's so extraordinary. We have to do something with her." So I said, then we just kept connecting and doing other things. And I said, "Hey, let's do a deal together. Let's try to figure something out." And I said, "Let's make it more purposeful." And the Seaport, I don't know if you knew this, but there was basically no black-owned business in the Seaport. And there were certainly no female black-owned businesses in the Seaport. The barbershop was there, so they were there first. But as far as nightlife, there was none. And restaurant, there was none. And so I called up Jeremy. Jeremy said he had a space, and he was all in. And he was awesome. And he gave us a great deal. And then I said to him, "But we need her name in lights on both sides of the building," because that had been Icon, the cinemas that were there before, right?
Yes.
So that was up there. And I said, we need that signage on both sides. And he was back and forth about, because he needed to save it for Alamo or another, now it's Alamo, but another movie company. But he gave it up on both sides. And we got it. And I said, it needs to be so when people come over that bridge that they realize for the first time there is a black female-owned business in the Seaport. And I said, I'll put my heart and soul into it. We crushed it on the design. And Nia owns 51%. She's the majority owner of that.
Right. That's
and I
great.
said, it can't be the other way.
Right.
And to their credit, Randy and Joe were, first they were like, we're going to be minority owners? And I was like, we are. It only makes sense if she owns 51% of this business because it has to be her business. You know what I mean? I can't say it's a black-owned business, and it's really not.
That's right.
And so we went forward. We're about to open our second one in Foxwoods. We'll open on I think they delivered to us on May 10th. And then we have our sights on kind of other ones. And her brand has grown. So
Yeah.
I just want to say shout out to her and to Randy and to Joe for being such
Rave
great partners.
reviews.
Yeah, rave reviews.
Rave reviews.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Ed Kane, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for being with us.
All right, that was great.
This is Carrigan and Company. I have to tell you, folks, I think lighting in your home is one of the most important things that you can do to keep the house updated. And when I need new lighting, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. Their spectacular 10,000 square foot showroom inside a beautiful mansion in Lynn, Massachusetts is decorated with both architectural and decorative lighting in every single style. From crystal and traditional to contemporary and modern, the selection is absolutely unmatched. Whenever I'm looking for new lighting, as I mentioned, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. And when I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for, I rely on the expert guidance of their design team. I know that they can help me. Learn more and book your appointment today. It's lucialighting.com. If you've been waiting for Mother Nature to flip the switch on spring to update your wardrobe, now is the time. And I've got the perfect place for you to find all the newest styles. All Chic at 152 in Marblehead, Massachusetts. When you step into the beautiful boutique on Washington Street, it's like shopping a rainbow. The collections are perfectly organized and the vibe is upbeat. Quality, style, and savings. That's the All Chic mantra for casual chic to elegant ensembles. Remember, when it comes to style, it's All Chic at 152. 152 Washington Street in Marblehead, Massachusetts.
Big Night Studios is now open for all content creators. Are you looking to start a podcast? Looking to expand your brand? Then visit bignightmedia.com. Check out our rates, check out the studio, and see all the podcasts we have to offer. That's bignightmedia.com.
This segment of Carrigan and Company is brought to us by North Shore Music Theater. Get tickets for Jersey Boys playing May 7th through the 19th at nsmt.org. Welcome back, everybody, to Carrigan and Company, presented by A&B Burger. Great to have you with us for this special edition of Carrigan and Company, which is all about the Big Night family. Of course, we just had Ed Kane on. We consider him the father. Kevin Cooney is with me. He is keeping me company today.
Like my TV mom.
There you go.
Yeah.
And son. And then we now have our brother in, Conor Murphy, and he is the host of Be Fit podcast here on Big Night, and also is the fittest guy by far in the room.
100%.
Nothing personal. I don't want you to take that
I can barely make
personal.
eye contact with him. He's so fit. It's ridiculous.
It's great to have you, Connor.
It's really nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are familiar with this studio, right? You come here occasionally.
That's it. I usually sit where you're sitting, so this is kind of a nice change of pace over here.
You never sit on the other side of the desk, do you?
I'm not that popular.
No, we're
Thank
starting.
you.
Now
All
we're
right,
just-
now we all understand each other. There you go.
He's over here because people will recognize him. People will see me and purposefully continue walking by, being like no one important.
I feel he's slipping some kind of money under the table to Pete,
Right.
that produced the engineer. I don't know what's going on
Real
here.
estate is expensive this time of year. You know?
You were a man who was headed into the Marines. Let's talk a little bit about that part, if we can first. Can we?
Yeah, Navy, but
yeah.
Marines
Right.
are a department of
Yes,
the Navy. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so
a Navy SEAL.
I enlisted in the Navy when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
And it was all I wanted to do. I was that problem child who, when going into class, I was like, hey, in high school, what do I have to do to pass this class? Because I knew that's the only thing that I wanted to do. And enlisting in the Navy, went through training. And after making it through all my training, I actually got injured. And I had a dive injury. You can actually probably see one of the scars. It's around here somewhere.
Oh, yeah, right there.
But so I had suffered some injuries, but in that process, I met some incredible people, had some fantastic life lessons, but really drew my passion towards fitness and really purposeful fitness, because I was training to be, to one, make it through my training, and two, be able to excel in the job that I was doing. So that's kind of what brought on the passion towards training, and really led to where I am today.
Yeah, well, I bring up Navy SEALs because, that's tough. That's really tough. I think that means that you have a mindset that has brought you to this fitness place in your life.
You're a Coronado guy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough. So talk about why fitness is so important.
Well, now obviously it has provided everything in my life outside of just the mental and physical aspects of it, of improving your quality of life. But really, it depends on what you're doing for work. It depends on who you are as a person, on how you should be training. But our bodies should be in motion. They should be, nonstop, continuing to press or push the margins of our experience. And it benefits you as a mother, as a dad, as a brother, as an employee, is really in anything. So this is this all-encompassing aspect of fitness that improves people's lives. And selfishly, being a part of that is really, really rewarding for me. So I've just kind of dug into that.
Mm-hmm. My dad is 83 years old, and he has been a bodybuilder almost all of his life. And he has a saying, a body in motion stays in motion, and a body at rest stays at rest. And there's really a lot of truth in that.
Absolutely. I think Sir Isaac Newton also had something to say about that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it's absolutely true. And you see these people that are 70, 80 years old that are still doing triathlons. And it's not like, hey, at 60 years old, I was like, man, I really got to start doing this. It was someone who just never stopped doing it. And those are really the inspirations for me now that I'm outside of competitive CrossFit. I'm outside of essentially needing this high level of fitness. But it's like, if I can garner all of this adaptation and all of this capacity, at some point in time, right, I'm going to reach my peak fitness. I'm not going to be able to get fitter. But if I can just hang on to that throughout the years of my life, that's what's going to speak to quality of life rather than just being alive.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the person who's using the guardrails in a wheelchair down at the nursing home as I'm just to live. You know, I want to be the person who's 85 years old, is scooping up both my grandkids, throwing them in the Ford F-250, Leonard Skinner playing from the school. Everyone's like, oh, Grandpa Connor's here. Grandpa, how are you still so fit? Why is Grandma
With your
always so
workouts,
happy?
that'll 100% be the case. He texted me not too long ago, and he's like, do you want to do the frogman swim? The frogman swim, please elaborate on. It's not a casual.
Right, just go out and,
order a martini and then.
You could.
A
lot of the guys do that.
It's in Boston Harbor, which I didn't even know you could swim in without, dying. It's is it a 5K in the water?
5K swim, 3.1 miles. Yep.
Yeah. Swimming is the toughest for me, too. That's when you're really fit.
Oh, yeah.
That comes from your Navy SEAL days that you can get in the water and do that. Fitness, though, and I've seen you talk about this. I mean, fitness is at all different levels, and it's defined differently for different people. I mean, I think there's a level of fitness that we all are looking for. But, if you're not somebody that this is your everyday, this is what you do for a living, what's fit?
So it's really interesting because for years, there was no definition of fitness. There was actually a woefully unhelpful definition as fitness is the state of being fit, which doesn't
There you
really
have it.
make a lot of sense.
Write that down.
Yes, exactly.
So kind of speaking exactly to fitness, through CrossFit, through Greg Glassman had defined fitness as your work capacity across broad time and modal domains. And to simplify that, your ability to perform a task, heavy, light, short duration, long duration. And any task that is comprehensible to movement. And really what we have found is that we talk about, it's like, hey, you've got to be so fit to be in the SEAL teams. You've got to be so amazing to be an Olympic athlete. But our needs differ by degree, not by kind. Whereas maybe when I was competing in CrossFit, I was looking for physical dominance. Whereas when I'm training my parents who have been training for their whole lives, they're looking for physical competence. The needs vary, like I said, by degree, not by kind. I need to squat so that I can squat 500 pounds if it comes my way. My dad needs to squat so he can stand up and sit down to the couch. All of these things in training functionality and then using it for variance, just preparing people for a higher quality of life, doesn't matter what you're doing. That's where the intensity levels will shift back and forth to the physiological or psychological tolerances. If someone is, if a heavy deadlift for someone is picking up their groceries, that's a heavy deadlift. If a heavy deadlift for one of my athletes who plays professional hockey is 500 pounds, it's the same thing. They still need to have the same mechanics to improve their quality of life. It just looks a little bit different.
I think you've made a lot of people feel a lot better by looking at it like that. Because I think people feel pressure, to keep up with athletes or keep up with people that they see in magazines or whatever the case may be. And that's not necessarily going to be for everybody. So if you're talking to somebody out there who maybe hasn't gotten off the couch for a while, what are the first steps they should take?
It's always interesting because it is definitely depending on the person. When I talk about physiological tolerances, I talk about what someone's body is capable of. But when you talk about psychological tolerances, it matters, what they've done before. And if someone is, if someone was a former Division I athlete, you speak to them as saying, hey, I know you're not where you've been at your best, and you probably won't get back there, but I can tell you have so much further to fall off and fall into this state of decrepitude where if you just start training, you can start getting better. So maybe speaking to it that. And then, when I speak to my parents who, when I went away for the Navy, it's the first time I ever noticed that they aged. And it was like, instead of me being like, hey, I want you to train so that you're not falling off more. It's like, hey, I don't want to be worried about what happens if you fall down in the kitchen. That life alert, like, I've fallen and I can't get up. like it's silly, but that's kind of that's the test. Like, hey, can you live independently?
Yep.
Totally.
So it's like, I want you to have a capacity right now where you can do 50 burpees in the span of 7 minutes. And maybe when you're 80, it's 25. Maybe when you're 90, it's 10. But shoot, isn't that great if someone can go down on the ground and get back up in that? So it's about longevity and quality of life. So it's like you just need to start moving. There's unlimited resources. I don't try to plug any of my systems being like, this is the best one in there. Type YouTube beginner workout and just do it. Do it in the comfort of your own home. No one has to watch, and continue doing that until you work up enough courage to go into a local gym. If you don't feel good when you go in there, there's a lot of other gyms to go to. But it's really just a matter of checking your ego, swallowing your pride, and just going in there to say, I may not be at my best, but man, there's a lot more that I can be doing, and a huge improvement in my life that can happen if you just get started. Could be a walk, could be anything.
Yeah, I do too.
incredible.
It is, and it's so important. I'm somebody who's in the gym 5 to 6 times a week, but I grew up in a household where my father, this is a lifestyle, right? So it's important to me because it's a psychological thing for me more than anything now. It's become that issue. But I say this to people all of the time. Don't be self-conscious about yourself. You're doing this for you. This is about you. Go out and just walk in the backyard. Walk down the driveway.
Right.
Get it started. Make yourself feel better about it. It's not about what other people are thinking. So
In the pursuit, I feel like as you age, people pursue comfort, and pursuing comfort is the pursuit of aging.
absolutely.
To your point of, you can start at any level, and
You bet.
the older you get, it's important to even start, even more.
It's just a little tougher the older you get. And I notice when I'm out, if I'm on vacation, when I come back, I pay the price. I pay the ultimate price. Conor Murphy, it's fun. Thank you very much. And again, the name of the podcast is Be Fit Podcast. People, be sure you listen wherever you get your podcasts because lots of helpful information there. We're going to be right back. This is Carrigan and Company.
How did 4 blue-collar kids become one of the greatest success stories in pop music history? Find out at Jersey Boys, the Tony Award-winning musical about Frankie Valli and the 4 Seasons. Experience the true story musical phenomenon that takes you behind the scenes and behind the music. Jersey Boys is on stage at Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater now through May 19th only. Get your tickets today at nsmt.org.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And that's going to do it for this episode of Carrigan and Company. Kevin Cooney with me. Of course, he is the host of No Limits with Kevin Cooney right here on Big Night. This has been fun.
Thank you so much for having me. We can do this more often. This is fun.
I know.
Now that we're in the same family, we got to.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's our new sitcom. You're like my TV mom.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll call it Big Night Family. So
We're
original.
on something. Yeah. Hello.
All right, listen, when you get finished listening to this podcast, be sure that you check out No Limits with Kevin Cooney. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Carrigan and Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Carrigan and Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Carrigan and Company is David Thompson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley, and our social media managers are Grace Carrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.
Yes, Carrigan and Company.